Welcome back to the interview. Technically, really chill, really relaxed with Tom Chappell. Part 2, of course, we've just done part 1, speaking about Portsmouth, everything going on at Pompey. Something's happening. It's special. It's exciting. You're winning games of football. You're second in the league. Everything is it's going up Millhouse at the moment over at the world of Fratton Park and Portsmouth Football Club. Now, on to part 2, a little bit broader. League One opening month and a bit, technically, sort of reflection. That's the name of that one. Quite short and snappy. Going for a few different talking points. I mentioned it in part 1. We spoke about different talking points we're going to go down. I've got a few sort of baseline ones we'll chat about. I'm sure we'll go off on tangents and end up speaking about lots of different things around League One because it's been a pretty exceptional start to the season. Exceptional for some sides, not so exceptional for others. But generally, it's been an exceptional campaign in terms of the surprises. And like I say, some sides really have kick-started their season. Others, not so much. And we'll be speaking about all of them now in part 2. Right, starting off then, Tom, because like I say there, it's been unpredictable. It was last season. It was the time before that. It probably was the years many before we even started talking about this and before we started broadcasting it ultimately in our own different channels. And this season as well, it's continuing on that trend. Really, really unpredictable. I wish it was predictable because otherwise I'd do very well in my prediction videos and I'm not. So clearly it's unpredictable.
Make life easier, wouldn't it? Yeah.
It would. And it put a lot of... it'd kill a lot of hope, but it also would, like you say, make it easier going into a match week. Who have you been most impressed by? Because I've got my side down here and you're going to be very happy with my selection. That might give it away. Who have you gone with? You might have gone with the same club as myself, and that would be, of course, Pompey. But who have you been most impressive? Because, again, quite a few sides have been quite impressive this season so far.
There have been. I was trying to stray away from saying myself because I like to try, and especially as this is a League One reflection, I don't want it to be too Pompey-centric. I want to try and go a bit broader. If I wasn't to say Pompey, yeah, and I'm sure links in the description or whatever, that's definitely worth a watch. If you're somehow stumbling across a part 2 and haven't seen part 1, then you know what to do. Other than Pompey, that one's easy for me, Jack. Ipswich have to be the most impressive League One side so far. And that's not just taking the easy answer because they are, through gritted teeth, top of the league by a single goal. The reasons for them being the most impressive for me are straightforward too. Pompey boy Connor Chaplin is a magical little man and the single worst decision that Paul Cook ever made in his time at Portsmouth Football Club when he let him leave and go off to, I think it was Coventry at the time. I mean, imagine if the talent that Pompey had kept, Marcus Harness, Connor Chaplin, Enda Stevens, Matt Clark, the list goes on and on. So we won't delve into that now. Doesn't stop at Chaplin though for Ipswich, does it? Sam Morsey, Wes Burns, Marcus Harness, who we know a lot about Harness and turning it on every week. But I say turning it on, turning up to work is an easy thing to do, but being consistently fantastic, like Sam Morsey, Wes Burns, etc. I mean, there's at the minute, and we're still early days, aren't we? But 7 weeks in, it looks like it's going to take an awful lot to stop Ipswich Town. And we play them, as you know, on the 1st of October. And that is looking like a tasty one already at Portman Road. And it's going to be a lot more of a tighter game than it was at Fratton Park. I'm hoping, fingers crossed, this time around this season. I'm really looking forward to that. And I think actually, Jack, you talk about kind of heavyweight fixtures, but that October the 1st, what a blockbuster that is. Yeah,
I mean, there's so many games we're looking forward to, but I think, there's so many to highlight. And after 7 games, there have already been some huge clashes. But remember, you've got to play everyone twice. So it's all going to continue again. And sometimes you've got to play, twice. And sometimes you still got to play, again as well. So it's going to be really interesting. I went with Pompey. And look, I'm not just saying it because you're in front of me, Tom, but I said it in part 1, and I don't want to go too much into Portsmouth because we've just done an entire half an hour talking about them. But generally, I've really, really enjoyed watching how they've, I think, gone from strength to strength. And I remember a 0-0 draw. Obviously, remember if I can't remember that, and no one can remember that, then there's clearly some trouble. It was only the start of the season. 0-0 draw against Lincoln City. I remember looking at that draw and I go, and it was off the back of a draw against Sheffield Wednesday, which isn't a bad draw at all. And 3-3, what a game that was!
Great game.
But a 0-0 draw against Lincoln City, that was, pretty much the opposite of the game on the opening game of the season. And it wasn't a good result whatsoever, really, in the grand scheme of things. You look where Lincoln are now, 20th in the league, and they're not really having the best of campaigns. Things can change. They can clearly climb up the table. They beat us. They drew to you. They've had some actually done fairly well, but then they got battered by Peterborough 4-0. So it's been really inconsistent for them. And I remember looking at that result and I sort of was like, I don't know. They look really good against Sheffield Wednesday, but you've got to win that type of game at home to Lincoln City. Whether at that point we didn't really know what Lincoln, what the sort of situation they were going to be in, but generally it was always going to be really important that at home, if you want to be really competing in the top end of the table, you've got to be winning those sort of games at home, and you weren't able to. After Lincoln City, I mean, it's got better and better week in, week out, and you almost, I think, maybe needed that result. I look back at that now, and maybe that was a result that kick-started your season massively, because the results since then have been exceptional. And again, we could go for all of them, but again, we've spoken about it earlier on, and you can watch your videos on your channel. You've been to every game so far this season, I believe, both in cup competitions and in.
There's a few I regret going to,
but League One. There's been some long nights. I remember some 1 o'clock voice notes from Newport. I mean, you've been everywhere. But generally, I think you have gone from strength to strength, and I think that's why I've put them down as who I've been most impressed by. But it could even be Ipswich, like you say there. Easily could be them. They've again looked like a really good outfit. We always sort of expect them to be. They spent a lot of money in the summer again. They've certainly invested. They brought in some really, really good players also, on free transfers and loans. But again, the players they have brought in, I've been really impressed by. Marcus Harness, we know his quality, his quality more than anybody. And again, Leif Davis signing for over £1 million from Leeds United for a left back. I mean, that just shows how ridiculous League One is and how competitive
it's going to be. Is there longevity to it though, Jack? Is there longevity to it? Do you think throw in a load of cash at it? Devil's advocate, I know, but is it for the long term?
I mean, you are sides that have done it in are still either where they are now or even lower. They'll definitely say it's a massive risk that it backfired on their behalf. So if you could, basically, if you Ipswich now put them in a position, and again, this is just my opinion, they're putting themselves in a position where they've got to go up. And that's dangerous, because as soon as you get into a position where you have to go up, and what I mean by have to is, I mean, both on a financial level, not just because the fans, because really the grand scheme of things, a football club is run both on a financial basis, of course, it's a business, and of course on a playing front as well. The fans will always say, we want to go up this season. And you'll say, why do you want to go up? You want to play in a high league. You want to win games of football. You want to enjoy yourselves. But the owners will say, you've got to go up because, again, it's good for the football club. But on a business side as well, it's even more important. And sometimes fans forget about that. You don't want to put yourself in a position where you've got to go up, not just because you're really excited about your team being successful, like every fan, but also because on a business and a financial perspective, it can be really damaging as well. And I think, sometimes you sort of forget about that. I say, not you, Tom. I mean, everyone really, you do forget about it. We speak about how at the start of the season we do our predictions. We speak about our club on a Sunday or a Saturday night after you've watched them play on a Tuesday, whatever it is, and you always go, "Oh, we won that game. That's really exciting," and you feel as though you're really going somewhere. And Pompey are in that boat at the moment. Oxford, if we win tomorrow, that'd be incredible. We'd all feel like that whenever you get a good result as a football club. But you don't want to put yourself in a position where, as a club, you have to get promoted, because there's going to be some serious repercussions if you don't. And again, that can be really dangerous. And Ipswich, the route they're going down is really exciting. And we don't want to tarnish, I'm sure you're doing that as well, we don't want to sort of take away the glamour of what's been a really good start to the season, because no doubt, however you look at it, it's been a really, really good start to the season. But they are spending money. And how long, like you say, is there longevity to because if you don't go up, what does the finances look like then? Because you spend £1 million in League One and you don't get promoted, you could be in serious trouble. Sunderland tried to throw money at
silly, doesn't it?
Sunderland tried to throw money. They got away with it in the end, but that took them 5 seasons.
Just about.
They spent £2 or £3 million on Will Grigg when they first got relegated into League One, and that took them 3 or 4 years. 4 years.
I know this isn't a Sunderland show, and this isn't all about Ipswich either, but these are two, and you bring Pompey into the conversation as well, two big football institutions that you have kind of got to throw money at to get out of a league like League One. We've no disrespect to the rest of the teams in League One, because I know there'll be a lot of League One fans watching this. There may be some Sunderland fans, there would more than likely be some Ipswich and some Pompey fans watching. But you think about, and also you chuck Sheffield Wednesday into that mix, you chuck Charlton Athletic in there, and obviously the recent history of Barnsley and Peterborough and teams like that, and Derby County just come back down from the Championship. These teams have got to chuck some cash at it to get themselves playing second-tier English football, because there's no other way of doing it. You will struggle massively to tactically weave your way out with a second-rate squad of League One, because it just doesn't happen, does it? And I think for a case of clubs that have fallen from grace, so your Sunderlands, Ipswich, Pompey massively. I remember every single day of it. It was horrendous. And you've then got to pump yourselves back up, haven't you? So, yeah. Anyway, sorry to like press on, and sorry to throw that
No,
questioning because I know it wasn't in the plan, but
it doesn't matter. That's the whole point of it. I think it's you. I said right at the start, we're going to go off different tangents. It's a really relaxed episode, and we can just speak about everything. So there's the tangent there. But I think you are right, and I think it's going to be really fascinating to see how Ipswich do. So far, so good. That must be said. But I think my warning would be, you just got to be careful. Because again, it can backfire massively. Just ask, the other clubs as well that haven't been able to do it. It's worked, for others. But again, you look at the only way, and you said there, the way that sides sort of can weave their way up. The only one I can remember in recent years that have been able to do it is Wycombe Wanderers, and they did it through Gareth Ainsworth playing a very unique style of play. You can criticize it all you want, and I think, sometimes we sort of. I never try and speak, but I know it's quite difficult sometimes as an Oxford United fan. There is that rivalry there, both on a sort of a local scale and also because, of course, they knocked us out of that playoff final and that stops us from getting promoted. So it is always difficult not to speak negatively on them. But generally, I always try and say, I'm fairly positive towards them. I'm certainly one of those positive Oxford fans towards Wycombe. And the reason why is because they've got Gareth Ainsworth who plays such a unique style of play. And again, you can talk about it being boring. You can talk about being negative. And it hasn't gone amazingly well so far this season, by the way. But generally in recent years, they've done a really good job. And they've been the only sort of side that I can remember that haven't spent a lot of money, but have been able to do it in a really, like you say, tactical, I think, specific way based on knowing the strength of the squad. I think that's been really, really impressive. So
which league are they in now, though, Jack?
But they are back in League One. That's because they couldn't, and that's because they got into the Championship. Yeah. And they got into the Championship and they weren't able to. Slightly different to, I think, Ipswich, though. If they got promoted, their worry would be, right, can we invest again? Can we invest again when you get in the Championship? Yeah. The problem with Wycombe was they didn't invest really in the first place, and they couldn't invest again, really. So
that's it.
Again, there's context to every single situation. But you're right that they are back down in League One. But that's because they weren't able to, when they got promoted, invest again enough to keep them in the league. But anyway, at least we're talking about Wycombe, so that's fine. They're in League One. Who's underwhelmed you so far this season? Because there's been a few names. I'm going to say one that I think is the obvious shout. It's Burton, but that's boring because they're bottom of the league. They consider 20 goals. They've been absolutely horrific. Yeah. So
Burton, you're boring. Jack's just said it. There you go.
Yeah, no, I mean, if you're a Burton fan watching this, right, you've got to probably be in the same boat here. It's just not a good start to the season, and they are the easy shout for underwhelming. And my other one has been MK Dons. That's my other shout there. But Burton, look, they have been underwhelming, but I think we can all see that, and that is by just looking at the league table. They've conceded way too many goals. They haven't scored enough. They're managerless at the moment, and they haven't won a game so far this season. You put all that together, it's not a great start to the campaign.
At the time of recording, worried about that trip.
You have got tomorrow.
Yes, and I'm going to tread very carefully. I know this is massively outdated by the time you're watching this, and hopefully we hammered them 4-0. But if we didn't, then that just proves the proofs in the pudding for League One that these teams that are down in the dumps and struggling. I know it's not a Premier League show, but I'm looking at Bournemouth, which is a place that I know quite a few people know is closer to me than Portsmouth is. So I do have friends of mine who are Bournemouth fans. Well, they're Bournemouth fans when Man United aren't doing very well, should we say? And you know who I mean. And well, you know the type of person I mean. And then you just think as soon as off goes Scott Parker, they have a result like they did against Nottingham Forest. I'm sure you remember, and inspired kind of way back into the game. So, and I think the same goes for what you've just been talking about. Mine was going to be, I wasn't going to go for the two clubs that you just mentioned. I wasn't going to go for your club either. I was going to go for Fleetwood. And the reason I'm going for Fleetwood, I know that anything other than survival in League One ticks a big box for Fleetwood. It's a massive, great, lovely done. Having said that, the way that they've recruited the new manager as well, who brings a lot with him, and then to go on and draw 4 out of 7 games so far this season in League One, a handful of those being 0-0s as well, shows defensive resoluteness, definitely. But I was expecting a little bit more from Scott Brown. I wonder what you think.
Yeah, I was really impressed with Fleetwood in their recruitment. I think they've had some, like you said, there are a lot of draws. They're currently winning the draw league. They're drawing a lot of games, and
which is the way to stay in the division, isn't it?
Which is, and you can stay in the league. I'm pretty sure if you drew every single game, you're probably just about safe. But at the same time, with the players they have brought in, I think they brought in, is it Vale from Shrewsbury? That was a really, really good pickup. They brought some other names as well, like you say, Scott Brown, who's a bit of a legend up in Scotland. I say a bit of a legend. He's a legend up at Scotland, did amazing stuff for Celtic. And
certain parts of Scotland, he's a legend.
Certain parts of Scotland, I'll be careful. But he is. I mean, he's played for the national team as well. So yeah, but generally at the same time, he comes down with a pedigree of course, being a very, very talented footballer. Can he do that as a manager? And that was always going to be the question. I was actually really, really impressed with their recruitment, and similar to you there as well. I have been a little bit underwhelmed. I would put actually, and there's someone else, I've got to double check on the league table. You might have the league table in front of you. If you don't worry, because I've got it here now. I think Shrewsbury, they've disappointed me a little bit. They've got better recently.
Because of the signings.
Because of the signings. I really like Shrewsbury's business. I really, really did. And I did a recent ranking for my summer transfer window, ranking every single League One team's business, and Shrewsbury had a fairly good position, and they are 13th in the league. They're just around mid-table, 9 points from 7 games. It's not bad, and it has got better in recent weeks. But I did expect a little bit better. I think they probably do have a squad that should be competing, in that top 10 maybe, and should have probably picked up more results in his first sort of 7 games. So if I couldn't say MK Dons, who currently 18th, and they had a brilliant season last season, and unfortunately losing Scott Twine, Harry Darling, that looks to be really, really quite damaging for them. They have reinvested, but again, gelling and that hasn't gone as smoothly maybe as they would have wanted to. So yeah, I'd go with MK Dons, Burton for obvious reasons. Morecambe haven't done amazingly well either, but again, in the most respectful way possible. I don't think anyone expected Morecambe to be, really up there. And for Shrewsbury as well, 13th, they have got better, but I expected maybe a little bit better from their fixtures. Anyway, right, let's go over to the next category, if you like, or a different talking point. Club surprise package for the season. So it's a little bit different to who's impressed you the most, because impressed, that's quite general. Surprise package, someone at the start of the season didn't think they'd do as well as they are currently doing. Tom, you kick things off. What have you gone with?
I've gone with Cambridge United. We
can agree.
Well, excellent. There we go. Not too long since they've actually been in League One. I know we're sat here. Our respective teams, Pompey and Oxford, have both beaten Cambridge already this season, would you believe? However, Ironside scored 3. Sam Smith scored 4. Tracy on the right wing is incredibly dangerous. And right now, on small metrics, as we know, I mean, we've played 7 games, and we keep saying that, and you might want to title this, or we've only played 7 games. There's only 4 teams better than them in the league, or 4 teams that have started better in the league, and that's Pompey, Ipswich, Sheffield Wednesday, and Plymouth. So you can't knock it. And Mark Bonner has done a fantastic job there, hasn't he? And just off the bat, I know you've spoken about him before in here, and off the back of, they've had a fantastic day in magic of the FA Cup last season at St James's Park, Newcastle, not Exeter. Important to point that out. That everything's kind of wins in their sails. And actually, they were at Fratton Park not too long ago. It was a Tuesday night. It's the only Tuesday night I think we've had at Fratton Park so far this season under the lights. And they went 1-0 up, and deservedly so, to be honest with you, for spells. I mean, they had a decent couple of chances, and there was going to be one that was going to nestle in the back of the net. And I didn't quite get round to mentioning it in part 1, but I was never concerned about the resilience and character of the Pompey side to get back into that game. And we ended up winning it pretty convincingly. It was very convincing. However, I saw flashes of real quality from Cambridge United, and I think they're going to take quite a few surprises by teams by surprise this season. Obviously, for the right reasons, all the football was off this weekend. That we're filming this on a Monday, so you might see this in a couple of days' time. But the weekend just gone, we didn't have any football. That Ipswich-Cambridge game would have been really exciting. I would have loved to see what had happened there, not just because of the locality between the two sides, but I think a team like Cambridge might have upset the good ship Ipswich. And for legal reasons, I said ship then, ones that go on the water. And I just think that, I think when they, that Cambridge will always beat teams like Lincoln City in League One this season. They'll have a really good mid-table battling with teams. I don't know if there's anything else you wanted to add about Cambridge United, seeing as they've gone for the same team.
The only thing I would say, and add on to that, is a little bit more on Mark Bonner.
Go for it.
Their manager, I really, really like him.
It's your channel.
Yeah. Cheers, Tom. Thanks for letting me know. No, I was going to say, I've been really, really impressed with Mark Bonner. And I know I sound like I'm having a bit of a love affair with Mark, but I'm not, funny enough.
Because you are.
Yeah, exactly. I wish I was. He's a good football manager. I I've been really, really impressed with him. And the reason why is I think his brand of football is exceptional. And the way that he's actually got this Cambridge United side to play. And I was going to say Mark Bonner side. It is a Mark Bonner side. Of course, he's the manager. But I've been really, really impressed with him and the way that he's actually got this side playing. And they've conceded quite a few goals this season, actually. They have conceded quite a few goals. And again, that would be the only thing you'd say with Cambridge sort of let themselves down a little bit. They're getting away with it because of the fact they're still scoring goals. And because they're scoring goals, you sort of get away with conceding a few more than you usually could do. But like Tom's mentioned there, you look at the likes of Joe Ironside, you look at the likes of Sam Smith, Tracy, I like Digby as well, and Mays, that double pivot in that 4-2-3-1. I think they actually look... And like Sam said there, they're probably going to be battling with these mid-table sides, the Lincolns, the Shrewsburys, hopefully not the Oxfords, but at the moment they are. They could sneak it. They really, really could sneak it. And if they get a real run going, and you've got to beat the sides like Sheffield Wednesday and Pompey losing that one 4-1.
The playoffs.
Right? I'm going to clip this up. What I mean by sneak it, they could finish. I wouldn't be surprised they finish between 6th and 8th.
Oh, yeah. Well, 2 of those positions aren't in the playoffs, are they?
Yeah, but I reckon it'll be tight, though. That's what I'm trying to say. I reckon it'll be tight.
So down to the wire, causing ruffling a few feathers, etc.
I don't know. There's something around that football club that they just seem to... They play good brand of football. They concede. I said it just then when I just said that they concede quite a few goals because they're scoring goals and getting away with it. And one thing I will say is, well, fine, this is going to get clipped up and definitely quite controversial. If Carl Robinson got the sack a few weeks ago now, if he did get it, I'd never thought he would, and he still might, but I don't think he will this season. I'm pretty confident of that. If he did get the sack, say tomorrow, or maybe he left the football club for other reasons, he maybe resign or join someone else in the Championship, I would go and say, and whether or not Mark Bonner would do this, I don't think he would. I think his eyes are set higher than Oxford. I would love Mark Bonner. I'd love Mark Bonner to be our manager because he actually plays a similar style of play, similar style as Carl Robinson. I actually think he would fit our brand really well. But at the same time, he's probably got his eyes on the Championship. And unfortunately for Cambridge, the only thing that I think would cost them is if Mark Bonner did leave the club mid-season, which would be a big blow.
Is the Mark Bonner show over yet? Or is it...
Yeah, let's move on. In fact, Mark Bonner just walked in now. I'm still recording it. Right, player of the season so far. I fortunately can't say Mark Bonner for this one. It's annoying. I can't say Mark Bonner. He's a player, but don't worry. They're still manager of the month to come, so there's always a chance. Don't worry.
There's always a chance. Don't keep watching, Mark. He's still got a couple
still alive. Don't worry.
Go.
Player of the season so far. So basically, I put down here. So basically, it's player of the month, but again, we've sort of had a mix between the end of July, September, and the month in between. What's it called? August. Thoughts on player of the month? I've got a few names written down, but Tom, you fire us away.
It's so tough. It's so tough. League One is blessed with so much talent, and it's really tough to call. Connor's had the most goals. We know that, and that's an easy thing to look very quickly at the stats. Alongside Clark Harris, who's on similar number. Aaron Collins doing really well at Rovers. Most goals and assists in League One so far. Daly Bashiru was top tier at Hillsborough when we went up there first game of the season. And he's continued to sign. Sorry, excuse me. Try that again. Continued to shine since. But then even someone like Rack Saki at Charlton deserves a mention as well. Giovanni Brown, Exeter, and Joe Ward for Borough top it in terms of assists as well. And then I would probably see that these would be my 3 names, having gone round the houses with a load of League One players. The 3 most clinical strikers in League One in terms of expected goals on target are Colby, Clark Harris, and you're going to be loving this, and Cameron Brannigan. So it would probably be one of those 3 for me, Jack. What about you? I've gone with Connor Bradley of Bolton on loan from Liverpool as an option. One that I didn't mention at all. Nice.
Lee Evans from... Don't worry. Exactly. That's why we've got a lot mixture of names. Lee Evans of Ipswich. I think he's been a really good midfielder.
Yes.
And actually somebody who hasn't done amazingly well for Ipswich in recent years. But this season really looks quite exceptional. Next to Sam Morsey, we mentioned earlier. They're really building up a good partnership, and that's probably down to the fact that, what's the difference between previous seasons and this season? It's Kieran McKenna. I think he's getting a really, really good tune out of Lee Evans. And another one's going to make you happy. You say Cameron Brannigan for my happiness levels. I'm going to go Marlon Pack for yours. I think he has looked really, really good. And like you say, check out part 1 because we basically do an in-depth 5-minute discussion on Marlon Pack. So we don't need to go through that again, but he does look a really, really good outfit in that midfield, and certainly is a key player in driving that Pompey side in that 4-4-2. I'll mention that again in an exceptional way. Manager of these seasons so far, I think we know my candidate, but again, don't worry, he's one of three. Don't worry. I've got my three names. I'm going to go the obvious two, and then Mark Bonner, which is obvious. It should be the obvious three, shouldn't it, really? Kieran McKenna of Ipswich. I don't think you can get past that. He's been a very, very good manager already this season, and the back end, of course, since he joined in March. Somebody defensively sorted them out when he came in, and also now is proving to be a manager that can also get the best out of attackers as well. And of course, they're top of the league and still unbeaten. Another unbeaten manager so far this season is my second shout. Of course, that is Danny Cowley. I think he's somebody who, again, he's getting a pretty decent tune out of the current Pompey players. And again, they're second in the league and still unbeaten. And then my surprise manager of the month, you wouldn't have heard me saying before, it's Mark Bonner. So he's going to be surprise. He's going to be the third shout, I think. And all jokes aside, as much as we've been joking about Mark Bonner, he has got a Cambridge United side after 7 games, 5th in the league, and they have done a good job. So I can say that, but I'm not going to speak about any more about Cambridge and my good friend, because we never met, Mark Bonner. What are your three selections?
Did I need three?
No, you didn't really. I just gave you three, but you can do as many as you like, or one.
Well, I actually think there's no arguments for this one, Jack, because he has actually won Manager of the Month, and that's Danny Cowley. So I don't think you can really argue with that. Sorry, that's Pompey tinted glasses taken over. Manager of the Month, I should say, because this is Manager of the Season so far, so maybe, whatever. But in the month of August, I believe he must have won the most games as a manager. Put it this way, we were top of the league for, we were top of the league at the tail end of last month, weren't we, when the Manager of the Month thing was done. So Danny's definitely my shout. We don't need to talk anymore about Danny Cowley. Speaks for itself and see part one. But yeah, Danny, seeing as he's won Manager of the Month, is my Manager of the Month.
Yeah, I think that's fully understandable.
Sorry, Kieran. Sorry, Mark, if you're watching.
Yeah, Mark. In fact, he's here right now. Sorry, Tom says sorry. No, I've been. No, I think we've covered a lot of bases there. We have. I've got one last thing down here, which is how have your original predictions changed? I just put, and I would show the camera, but I just put a lot. I think I got to the point where
did we do a predictions video?
I did one individually, but we didn't do one together.
Right. Okay. But so go on. How much have they changed? How wrong were you, Jack? Go on, tell everyone.
In terms of, I've got to remember which ones I did, but the ones that I can remember from the top of my head I've got wrong is Cambridge. I think I had them just above relegation, so they're definitely exceeding that. I didn't have Burton starting the way that they have done. I had them, I think, around 15th, 24th, so they have not had a good start. You'll
give yourself a bit more credit, though, because you've still got 38, 39 plus postponements, which are going to happen because you've got internationals in a couple of weeks, and then obviously this weekend. So I think give yourself a little bit more credit. But there's. Go on, you finish yours, and then I'll tell you about mine briefly.
The two. I said Pompey and Oxford. I think I've got Oxford fairly well at the moment. I got them 11th to finish. They are 11th at the moment. They probably won't finish there. If we do, then that's not great. But of course, I highly doubt we'll finish 11th, and that could go up or down. So I don't really know there, but so far I have predicted it. And even though, taking away sort of league table position, because again, like I say, we're so early in the season, I did expect sort of a mediocre season. I wasn't very impressed with our window, and I think our squad I think our squad is worse off than it was last year, which is really frustrating, and that just shows how our window hasn't been good enough. And Pompey as well, I think I got them wrong. I think I got them 8th or 9th. I got them missing out on the playoffs only by a couple of places.
I did say.
And you even said there's something's happening, and you said it before the start of the season, and again they're proving me wrong as well. So I'd go Burton for the wrong reasons. Oxford Oxford got fairly okay. Cambridge for the wrong reasons as well. Of course, they're high flying, so technically for the right reasons. Again, Pompey as well. They're definitely exceeding what I thought they would.
I think I'm pretty happy with mine. I didn't officially do a predictions video. I went on a couple of people's channels and kind of gave a general thoughts. I'm glad I said Ipswich and Wednesday would be where they are, because I thought they would be high flyers. As I'm sure you can imagine, I won't be too upset if this is how the league ends as we sit right now. It'll be absolutely fine by me. I know you feel slightly different. I believe I thought Cheltenham would struggle, which they are doing, which I'm actually surprised by, having watched them play against us when we went there away from home a couple of weeks ago. But so much football to play. it's still League One and it's still changed like no one's business. So who knows? By the end of this month, we'll have a little bit more to go on. End of October, we'll be really telling both us and Ipswich will have played each other by then, as well as both having played Plymouth on Wednesday as well, which I think is quite crucial to mention. Derby also have a really nice run of fixtures. I don't know if you've seen, but they've got, with no disrespect, I think they play Cheltenham and Cambridge and teams like what you would expect a team like Derby County to pick up points. So we shall see, Jack. Lots of football to be kicked around.
Yeah, very, very early days. But this has been our League One reflection on the opening sort of, I say month, but it's over actually 3 months. But again, of course, very short on either side of what was a very, very busy August. Part 1 was touching on something is happening at Portsmouth, all in depth on Pompey and their start to the season. You can tell it was a very excitable Tom for part 1 and part 2 as well. It's been really, really interesting to sort of break down what has been a really, really busy start to the campaign. Like I say, for our individual sides and also League One as a whole. This could be just part 2. This could be the entire episode. I think we've been going for about 40 minutes now on this one, so it probably will be 2 separate parts. This has been our League One reflection. Tom, we're going to have to make this more of a regular thing. I know I'm sort of moving away to university, but I don't really see that stopping the podcast whatsoever. So hopefully it will continue in the way that it is at the moment. Pretty ruthless, really. We're putting out quite a few episodes at the moment. That's because there's a lot of football being played.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Are you going to be moving any closer to Mark Bonner's house by any chance?
I don't know if he lives in London. So I doubt he does. He's Cambridge United manager.
That's not far, is it? It's only an hour on the train.
Yeah, we can see each other. We can see
each other.
Yeah,
absolutely.
We'll have to make it more of a regular thing, Tom. You know that. We all know that.
Oh, definitely. We'll be there. We'll be here, mate. You can't get rid of us now.
It's going to be with a duo that's going to tear up League One this season. And it's just the way it's going to happen. Not on the pitch, unfortunately. We would try, but we can't.
No, very much not, no.
Anyway, Tom, thanks so much for coming on, mate. Absolute pleasure. I'm sure I'll be on 4-0 written all over it for Sunday live. Hopefully that's going to happen very soon when we play each other. And of course, hopefully I'll be going to Pompey and we can do a bit of in real life outside the ground content, which will be really exciting as well. Very exciting. Let's wrap this up, Tom. Thanks so much for coming on, and I'll see you very, very soon, everyone. Leave a like and subscribe as well, please. Thank you. That's a brilliant ending. In fact, we're going to continue the ending now. Take care, everyone. Bye.
That was very polite. Like and subscribe.
Please,
thank you.
Please subscribe, please. Thank you.
Please. Bye-bye.